Hello, hello, hello. Greetings, greetings. Alrighty then. Presento. A blank white sheet. Yes. I wonder if a blank white sheet to an artist, if it's scary or the opposite of scary, inspiring. It's like a little of both sometimes. I've had like a little bit of, I don't know if you can count it as writer's block. It's just been, it's kind of a slower process for what happened with writing Grand Prix. I don't know how long it might have gone kind of fast, but there was a lot of points where it would sort of count as like writer's block, but then you just start over. Because I think I took like 2 weeks off from drawing and I was writing every day. And I would get kind of far in or get like 30 pages into the script, hit a dead end, basically hit writer's block, be like, F it, start over. And each time you get understanding the world a little bit more, understanding what the story's kind of trying to be or whatever, and the characters and stuff. So you can get further. And that worked good. Then but I don't know. I always get a little anxious. I always want to be writing something, and I haven't written anything all summer since the movie script, which is kind of that's like just two people talking, almost like an exercise. It almost doesn't count. And I've been developing some more comics, but to get them to really slap has been hard. And I'm like, Grand Prix slapped by the end, but it kind of didn't in the beginning. So, but it kind of slapped and then it would dead end, and then I have to start over. And with Percival, so Percival is the main one that I kind of want to develop. There's a handful of scripts that I could. That's part of what paralyzes me a little bit is too many choices. I got like 4 or 5 that are like solid, ready to go. Then I got to work them out, and they all have like various elements that's holding it back from really jumping in. That's why I'm like, sometimes you get an idea and it's like formed enough to the point where you can jump right in, and it's kind of frustrating when that's not the case. You're waiting for stuff like that. A lot of times it is like a little simpler. And this Percival script, it's not exactly simple. I do keep saying in my head, I'm like, do it like a Western, like have it just be like a Western. But there's a lot of weird things. And part of the weirdness is what attracted me to the idea in the first place, is the idea that the Grail itself kind of has a personality based on whether or not it disappears. So like there's sort of like rules, like if you uh refuse to help someone, the Grail might disappear on you. For Percival, if he ever heals himself, uh maybe I think heals himself. I was gonna say maybe heals himself without instead of healing someone else or something like that, it would disappear on him. But I think even if he just heals himself, it disappears on him. So the Grail, like he's like playing chicken with this cup, trying to get it to Arthur. But I had a few thoughts that expanded it to the point where I'm like, okay, it's almost ready where I could outline it and have, because that's one thing, like writing completely blind. I don't know, depending on the story. Like I can do that if I know what the story's going to be, but and otherwise I'll just end up dead ending. And yeah, the Grand Prix method, a lot of it's kind of leaps of faith, which are not particularly like, it doesn't feel good when you're right in the middle of it. If you don't know everything you do, it might be for nothing. And Percival has been feeling like that. It feels like pulling nails. I've been sitting down writing, trying to get some scenes going. It's funny, you can write a scene and it can be okay, but then you're just like, "Ah, why don't I feel the shit?" And I got some of it in my head where I'm like, that would give me the feeling of that it's kind of onto something a little special. But I got to get to those scenes. I could write some of them out here. But like one example is like, I think early on in the story, there's a girl that gets healed. She's a leper and she gets healed by the Grail. And then she's beautiful after that. And so like her dealing with that, but also the fact that she was like a leper and she was like for a lot of her life or whatever an outcast, and it kind of like spoiled her in a different way where she has to like heal uh beyond, like it's not like you're pretty and all of a sudden life is good. Like she's like not a good person, which is kind of edgy a little bit, which I like. I was like, that's Percival's thing. He's like ugly people and poor people are not good people. And that, which is his own bias and his own bigotry that he has to get over. But and so he would like tell her that. So she and him would like hate each other. But they'd also kind of be playing chicken too, a little bit. Um so all that stuff I want to get into, it's all about playing chicken. And so Nota Mandela, what's up? Narwhal streaming over Kelsey. Um yeah, he streamed. This is just a little quick little stream. He was going pretty long though. I was like, he'll probably end soon. Um I'm streaming with Gary tomorrow to promote Gary's book too. A Brush with Destiny. Talk about inking a little bit. So I have been having a little trouble getting this outline going though. So I wanted to go live just so it kind of forces me to talk out loud, and that helps a little bit with the creative process sometimes. Um so so I don't know, I guess one thing is the map even. So that's why I have this. Is my internet being slow? It might be being slow. So even figuring out the map was hard. But treating Avalon, I think that's what I called like the city of gold. And then it gets taken over by Mordred. But Avalon, like I was like, what is it? Like, is there gates surrounding it and there are guards at the gates? So to even get in, you need a scene of passing the guards. Like, where are the gates? That's like a question you have to answer. And I was like, okay, I think the gates are in the center. And then the kind of big cool castle is whatever there. That's where like Mordred is. Guards, gates. And then it's a sprawling like metropolis. It's like like it actually keeps going. It would be quite huge. It's like proto New York, where you have like hovels and neighborhoods that are like almost like cities in themselves. Is And then it's a little based on when I visited Italy once. They have churches in the middle of nowhere that are like checkpoints for like travelers, so that travelers could pray on a journey. They didn't have to go too long without praying. So that would be like the opening is like one of these churches that is actually in the middle of nowhere, but you can kind of see the beginning of the sprawl of Avalon. And then you go into this sprawling metropolis, and then the story kind of plays out from there. And the deal is, I normally hate, or don't hate, but I don't like prophecies. But this one, because it's King Arthur, you could kind of have prophecies. But I thought of a reason like beyond that why I kind of like it and allow it. And this is the idea here is that Percival has been trying to get the Grail to King Arthur for 40 years. And the Grail keeps effing with him. And he'll get like to the end and it will disappear. And so it's almost like it's trying to get him to kill himself. Is like he's like almost on the verge of doing that, but he kind of doesn't. And that's a line I want to write into it too, is like what is it? He says like I wouldn't kill myself, or he says like the worst they're like, he just doesn't want to because he knows that he might give up and do nothing for 60 years and be bored. He's like, the worst that life can be is to be bored. And that's not enough to kill myself. I think that would be something like he would say. What's the tagline? I don't know yet. Will Percival say thee and thou? No, I don't think so. Uh, so then, and also nobody knows where Arthur is. This is a situation. Arthur is apparently in exile. Nobody knows. And nobody knows where the Knights of the Round are, but we will find out that a few of them are just kind of living quietly under different names, basically. But the name Percival, like you can't say Arthur. Like this is like a thing where like if you say Arthur, you get put to death. Um, and the but the reason the prophecy is kind of cool is because the rumors like Percival's been working for 40 years. The Grail has been popping up and helping people here and there. People know that and hear about it. They know the Grail's coming, but it hasn't come yet. So they're getting ready, some people, but they know that like if they had a big meetup, like let's meet up and plan the revolution, there's so many like spies and infiltrators that it would immediately get surrounded and the building would get burned or whatever. So they don't even do that. Like maybe that even happened once or whatever. So they don't do that, but they know that people are out there and they do know that you can kind of pull the trigger once. And meaning like you're like, let's do it. Tell everyone you know. And yeah, they are going to try and kill us. But so you have, it's kind of like an army raising out of nothing. It's like the people know it's ready, but nobody knows where it is and who still remembers Arthur. And your closest friends, you can kind of speak of it. But if you bring in a third friend, so that's like the situation, which is in some ways it's like a little hard to write, but I think I can navigate that because it is like you're trying to simulate like what it would actually be like um you know, Praetor, you answered my question. Oh, okay. Um, yeah. So within that kind of world, that's almost enough to kind of get the outline started. So let me even see if I guess I can pull up the 1 second here. Percival rolls into the outskirts of town. An abandoned church that has been overtaken by lepers. So there is a scene I already wrote, and I'm like, this is part of the problem too. I'm like, do I want to keep this or just cut it completely? I think for now I'll try and keep it. So um there's kind of a lot that happens there, but what does it establish? It's like the amongst the lepers is a like leper, well, I was gonna say like bandit king. Maybe he calls himself a king. And he betrays, or yeah, basically Percival for the Grail. So at the end, Percival is jaded AF because he got betrayed, and he's kind of stuck with the woman who got healed. And at the scene, I could cut this guy because it's like, what is he even? But an older dude got healed too. So it's three of them. And then Bandit King gets away. Um, and that scene could be even like more epic. It's meant to be one issue of a comic, so I think it's 22 pages or so of a comic could pack all that in. So then Percival is injured. He's poisoned from the battle. Um, okay, I'll type what I'm thinking, but I don't know if some of this will work. Might have to go back. Hey, Joe Catapano, what's up, man? Ellie Munoz. Narnar, you mentioned wanting to do storyboarding, but would you pursue an indie film career in terms of directing and producing? I'm trying to make a movie right now just to get the ball rolling, but I have a script. It's just two people talking for 90 minutes. So I just want to try and do the first like 10 minutes of that or 5 minutes even and just see if it can even be not terrible. But that's a funny thing to try and tell actors. It almost doesn't work. I've ran into that. I'm like, does anybody want to be in my script to help me learn and get better? I don't know if it'll be any good, but like just casual actors are like, how about a little more confidence, bud? I'm like, oh, to fake it till I make it. I hate having to fake it till I make it. He goes, that's cool. I can dig that. Yeah, just to get it started. I have a couple scripts that are meant to be more low budget. Like it's a little bit different than a comic script, you know. Comics you can do anything, and I do like the limitations. It's actually I feel like it's way more hard too, way more challenging, and in that way kind of more fulfilling. Richard Cahill. It might not be terrible. Joe, I'd read it. I read a few of them because there's two. The two people talking. I read it on stream, I think, and that was actually a good test because then you don't get super embarrassed saying it out loud to the chat. It has okay flow to it and stuff. A movie like that can never be. It's always niche no matter what. But that's like maybe you can make it, yeah, and have a little something. Just go from there. Yeah. I have a vampire script too, is the other one. Um, choo choo. 1 second here, sip of coffee. So this Percival script though, it's giving me trouble because there's kind of a lot of moving parts and getting the flow. Like there's a point when stuff clicks, and sometimes I call that the crack when you like crack the code. And sometimes that is where it is you kind of realize the archetype that you can kind of click into the plot archetype or the tropes or whatever. And this one has way less of that, which and can be pros and cons. That can be kind of fun. Then it can be a little like a little extra original in some ways, but it's also harder to write and to figure out. Uh, One example thought there's another script I thought of recently that where I thought of like the crack, where the crack was this guy these I wanted a psychological thing where two friends and a gang leader, like his top two people, he kind of pits them against each other, and then one betrays the other to kind of win and become the main heir to the gang. And then so that guy gets arrested, and it's kind of like a sci-fi-ish, cyberpunk-ish setting. That guy gets arrested, and blah blah blah. I wasn't sure what would happen exactly after that. Um, I was thinking like maybe you cut to 10 years later when he gets out or whatever, blah blah blah. But the thing I thought of, it's that it is like it's like a trope, but it's the thing where he kind of gets recruited by an organization within the police force where they offer him his freedom if he'll work with them for a little bit. You know, there's like a million stories like that. But that once you think of that, you're like, oh, I know the whole story in my head now pretty much. And so that one, like, it feels good, and that one, like, is kind of ready to go. That's one that me and Jared Jewell are co-writing. That'll be our follow-up to Hotel Story. Um, kind of, what is it? It's actually like that one's like heavily inspired by Jet Set Radio. Like the gang is like a rollerblading gang. Um, and within this though, there I haven't hit too many things like that exactly, but some of them come up. So I'll just type out what I know so far, and maybe we can, yeah, try and workshop this live for a little bit. I think I want music in the background. You guys won't hear it, but then I'll hear it. See if it'll play. 1 second here. Silent Hill OST, always good for music. Injured, poisoned. So first thing, they got to get him to a secret bed to rest. So I'm like, the attic of the inn, I think. I have two versions. One is they go to a like cottage, but the thing is this is like a city, Avalon, so there wouldn't be a cottage. They would have to retreat. So I think their plan is no retreat, I guess, or that could like be kind of like the rule. So they're going deeper into the city, so you're kind of dealing with like inns at that point, townhouses. They could stay with the girl's like dad, and she has the reunion, and people are like, "Damn, girl, you got hot after your freaking morphed face got cured by the Holy Grail." Because that's what I want a lot of the story to be, is like almost, I don't know if you, that element is almost like slice of lifey or something, where she has to deal with, like, she'd have an old crush who used to hate her and now he likes her. And then Percival would be witnessing this because she and Percival would have like some sexual tension. But Percival's like, he's like, I don't know, he talks shit though. He's like, he'd be like, I don't even, I don't even want to bang you. But even if I did, I can't because I'm sworn to chastity, and the Grail would leave if I did. And that's one thing that kind of excites me though, is like it's almost like a rom-com plot from a certain perspective. You have all those kind of elements where, and then I'm like, they would have sort of a, well, they would like, kiss or whatever. They Percival might die in the end, so it'd be a little more of a tragedy. Um, so it's a weird position to be in, knowing a lot of that stuff, but not knowing how it all fits. I guess you just put the time in, but yeah, I've been like, it just hasn't been coming quite as easy with this one, but I don't want to give up on it. I really like some of the playing chicken with the cup. Like there'll be some things with the cup too, like they can't hide it. That's kind of one of the rules. If you hide it, it will disappear. It will like offend it if you hide it. But they can sort of hide it in plain sight. So they can put it amongst other cups. So there's kind of a scene like that. Another thing that comes up with these is like the characters. So there will be like the head investigator for Mordred. And then there's the head, the Bandit King. Something um something could happen with him too. Because so you have these characters, I'm like, can you just kill them? Then you don't have to deal with. I did that in an earlier draft. It's like that's actually sort of a thing you can do. You can have the one bad guy meet the bigger bad guy, and then the bigger bad guy kills that bad guy. Kind of escalates the plot. I do that in Cerberus. So I kind of didn't want to do it twice. But I'm like, well, then you really got to think of some good stuff for him, and he kind of becomes a pretty big character if he gets away. But he could, where he gets healed by the Grail too. So his situation is different. Yeah. Temptation of the Percival. If you say Jet Set Radio 3 times, Billy Baxter will appear. Comfy plot lines. Oh, nice. That's called breaking the story. They gotta get him to a secret. The inn. Okay, so this is the thing though. It's already like a scene you maybe gotta write because there's like some possible conflict, and then, but it can be fast. But I'm pretty sure they checking in like a poisoned guy into an inn. It would attract some attention, and rumors spread, and the authorities would want to check him out. Sometimes if you say that though, it's like, well, then that's what happens because you're like, you don't want the convenience. Like, so the first thing Percival has to do is like he gets questioned by authorities from the other side and what they would do. Because I'm like, oh, to avoid, like, so they got to sneak him in the middle of the night. Like someone would still see him, and then you got to follow them, and they tell someone. Yeah, so you can do it kind of matter of fact sometimes. So they get him to the bed. Let's say they just even check him into the. They check him into the inn. Does the girl know the innkeeper? Could say yes. That's like more efficient. And then, so then she goes to get anti-venom for the wound. I think I might cut that. I don't know. And then there's this other guy too. There's the older guy. Unintelligent design. Kakashi Murder Dolls. Now on Indiegogo, ready to ship. Cool. It's not a bad marketing scheme doing super chats to let people know about your book. I do it too. Let me see if I can even search it real fast. Freaking. Hopefully it's not shadow banned. It's not shadow banned. So here it is, everyone. It's doing pretty good. Almost 5 figs. Kind of a fun manga style. But yeah, everyone give it a look, see if it strikes your fancy. That looks cool. There's a lot of cool books going on right now. It's good stuff. I'll check it a little more detail later too. Intelligent design. Dino King, Edge of Extinction, and Wonder Island now funding. Oh, cool. Oh, is this what's up? It's frickin' Liam, I think. Liam, how's it going? I just closed the window, but I'll look that one up too. Ethan liked this one, I think, and was promoting it a little bit, which is a nice little healing. Yeah, the art looks really cool. People like dinosaurs. Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Just straight up legit manga. Looks cool, man. Everyone check it out. Okay. 18 people watching. Maybe I'll try and perk up a little bit. I feel like I'm low energy. Gotta chug my cough here. But it's all I can do is this is a boring brainstorm stream anyway. I'm more just doing this to force myself to talk out loud. It kind of helps sometimes the creative aspect. Okay. We check him into the inn. She goes to get anti-venom for the wound. I think does Percival sends the other dude to hide the grail in plain sight. The only problem with that is that's Percival's agency and not the dude's. And sometimes if you have people give an order and then someone follows out the order, that's like boring. But it's like go hide the grail. Okay, then he goes to hide the grail. That's like boring. But you can order it like somehow you don't see the orders that Percival gives to him. But it could be cool if it's his own. And this is something I had in an earlier draft, but it's Percival passes out. The dude buries the grail. Percival wakes up, tells him You can't do that. It'll get offended and disappear. So then he just goes and grabs it back. Like, maybe he's about to go bury it and Percival catches him. That's a little bit better. He says, hide it in plain sight. And then maybe we just don't see, but he did do that. We don't need to follow him. So then it's like, where do you check? You checking in, you got multiple plots going, kind of like the girl getting anti-venom. Uh, you're trying to take care of multiple things at once. So she gets introduced to old friend she had a crush on, who is part of the resistance, but they aren't organized. She's just like in deep in Avalon in some burrows or whatever. Meets like a witch type. So how she would know to go there? This is a funny question too. It always comes up. Like, who knows who? Who? It's a world building thing. They already know. They ever already met each other. It can be a bigger, cooler world if nobody knows anybody. But that's, potentially you're trying to kind of strike the balance. That's can be unrealistic. If everybody knows everybody, that's like a small world. But then you got lots of lore and what what they knew in the past and stuff. When do the trans people show up? Aren't you worried by doing this you're going to spoil your story? This won't, I don't think this will see the light of day for like at least a year or two. So people kind of forget or don't care. If I got, uh, so yeah, I guess I'm not too worried. Ray, what's up? Kelsey raid. Nice. Getting some Kelseys. Some of this is still sort of working though. I'm doing a little bit better than I was. The streaming is forcing me to stay a little more focused on it too. Is the mic picking up a lawnmower? Can you guys hear that? I'm just curious how good this mic is. Slash bad. If it's kind of weird. I don't know how sound works. If there was a mic that could like only pick up me, make me sound great, cut out everything else. That's like best of both worlds kind of thing. Like a great mic would pick up everything and whatever. Eric says no. Okay. How much incest? 20, 50, 90? I don't mind a little incest for some creepiness or whatever, but I don't know if there's any in it. I saw a movie with some incest last night a little bit called Angel Heart. You guys heard of that movie? I've been on a little kick of good Halloween movies. I'm going to talk about that with Nasser tonight, I think. Bum, 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 bum. So you're trying to get two birds with one stone. She meets the dude, meets the witch. Is it a witch? The dude could be the dude who runs the shit or whatever. That's if it's just like a shop. Um, it's like if you go for if it's like a theater troupe and the witch is like part of that and the dude is there. And then there's one other. So like, is there like the point of the scene, the resistance or whatever is like, is it hard for her to get the anti venom from the witch? She's a tricked the witch. She's cost money. The witch is, yeah, actually, the witch jacks up the price. And a rich gentleman. See, I'm getting too many characters, maybe. The rich gentleman could be the young dude. Rich gentleman, young dude, offers to pay. Classic simp move. So then he's kind of in on the business, though. She would ditch him. He could be his own character, though. I'm not too scared of having like lots of characters. They do serve slightly different purposes. I got to think of that. That's one thing, though, is like those are the decisions where it kind of makes a big deal on the story, and it's a pretty big headache to figure out which one's better. Sometimes it helps if like if that's your thing for the script, like this script is going to be efficient. I'm going to make combine all characters because you don't, again, it's kind of a world building thing, like you don't have to do that. There's a point where you might have too many characters, but lots of characters are kind of cool. If a character comes in, he only has one scene in the entire movie or story, like that's cool. Like I like that kind of stuff. Whereas like if you kind of go by the more traditional wisdom, they'd be like, oh, you have to combine him with another character or whatever. Make those two characters one. Zeno the Stoic. Rich sip, but he's living on credit and is in fact a low-level postal worker. There was a barrel fire just off screen. He's making roasted chestnuts. Those are all funny. How did it, what train of memeing did that, why did that memeing start that he's homeless? Oh, you guys are talking about me. Homeless in his own house. Dude, you know something funny? Oh man. Oh man, this is like, hopefully I can tell this story and you guys laugh. But I was walking around yesterday. I went to Habitat for Humanity because I was going to look for like some chairs or something, but they were closed. So then I was like, well, homeowner, I gotta probably need some candy in case kids come by knocking on the old door for Halloween. And the candy was kind of expensive, which so I went to Walgreens and I ended up getting some candy. But on the way there, I passed a homeless guy at a stop sign with his dog. His dog's a really cool pit bull. He's making he's making her wear sunglasses, and she's being pretty chilled. The sunglasses are actually staying on her face, and he's writing on his cardboard thing, and he goes, "How do you spell receive?" And I go, he's like, I don't, he was going to say, like, I don't mean to bother you or something, but then I was like, RECIEV. And he's like, oh, that's what I got. That's what I got. And then his dog came over and said hi. And I was like, can I pet your dog? He's like, absolutely. She's my golden girl or whatever. And I was like, nice. I pet her. I'm like, she's cute. He's like, yep, she certainly is. I love her so much. Something like that. And then I was like, You have a good day. And I kind of walked away. And then I was like, I was dressed like I am now. And I was like, he didn't ask me for change. He thinks I'm one of him. Why didn't he ask for me for change? I need to go back and give him some change so that he knows the situation. There's a pecking order, please. I would it too. Like I almost was just gonna give him, pull out my wallet, give him a buck or two or whatever. I don't know the going rates for homeless shit these days because of inflation. Like $2 is nothing. $5 a little bit better. I'm a little nervous though because I actually do have a lot of cash in my wallet. So like always pulling that out. Like if it was my last $5, I'd feel a lot more comfortable just pulling it out, flashing the empty wallet at him and give him the $5. But I had like $100 in there with a lot of ones and shit, so it looks really thick with money. And then I'd always be paranoid that he'd be like, "Hey, I got a what is it called? I got a patsy. I got a mark. Camouflage." Walgreens is a ripoff. Yeah. DLA. Hand out smokes. Stand on the street corner, and when someone stops to give you money, instead you give them a flyer for a hotel story. Yeah, I was even that made me laugh. I was like, instead of when someone stops to give you money, you say no, that is not the situation, and then you give them money. I'm better than you when you hand them money. Zeno the Stoic. Narwhal is invisible to the homeless now. An amazing superpower. It was actually a little bit like that in Seattle. I almost felt like I do feel slightly safe, even in Seattle, where it's like a little bit sketch. And I feel safe just because I'm like, no one's gonna F with me. I had this like super ratty raincoat on. And kind of big beard, whatever. Homie Muniz. Let's get back to the first bullet point. I think you have fertile ground here that will provide a structure for the rest of the story. Are you talking about this bullet point? Like Percival rolls into the outskirts of town. Yeah, one thing is we got to check in with the bad guys. We've been checking in with all the good guys. Anytime am having a little bit of trouble too, I do try and think of like just like what would happen. Don't try and be clever. Just like what would happen and then write that. So like that is one thing that helped a little bit with this is like the authorities would want to check them out. But they don't know, what's going on. I don't think they would literally just like that's another kind of issue with the scene is like I don't know if they would literally just like arrest him. He's kind of injured and poisoned at this point too. They go through his stuff. They see he's a knight. And they kill him. The end. I don't know. But that's a little. I was going to put in maybe one other before that. Again, maybe if we can be efficient, I don't know. Maybe it's like even here or something is like Check in with bad guys. The Leper King got healed. 2 rolls into town, ratting out Percival to authorities. Well, then they would definitely kind of be on the lookout. So I don't know. And then in an earlier draft, I actually have him kind of just get killed by the authorities, and it kind of levels up like, oh, the authorities are even worse than him. That old sort of trick, but I kind of don't want to do that. It'd be cool if he's still like a dude. But there is like a theme, a little bit of the theme is like the grail, how it heals you, it also changes you. And it would sort of put you down a path of maybe healing as a person. Um, but it doesn't do it. It, a lot of it is like the metaphor for God or whatever. Like it kind of fucks with you, but that makes you better. Um, and shit like that. So he could almost kind of start being he could have the old arc to sort of become a better dude. But I don't know. He's a bad guy, he's a bandit. He was totally gonna like just kill Percival, take the grail. He definitely wants the grail. Um to the authorities. Would he rat out Percival? I think he might. He meets old friends, gathers a gang for a mission. They want to rat out to the authorities. No, maybe they don't, but I'll just say he doesn't want to rat to the authorities because he wants the grail for himself. Could do it. It's borderline convenient, but you could have the authorities be kind of dumb at first. But I kind of don't like doing that. I like having them be pretty smart. A knight. Yeah, this is medieval. Fights in tight spaces meets medieval. I want this to have maybe like Avalon has like a lived in borderline slice of life thing going on. So like there is like a plot of this like they're putting on a play or something, like so like where he goes. So I kind of want like one extra level of detail. It helps, and that could affect the story. So what did I say? Like when he rolls into town, it's like, does he go to a bar? The thing about this too is like you could go to a bar and you could like yell out, uh, like Percival's in town with the Grail. We're gonna get it and get it to Arthur, who's with me. And you might immediately get your like throat slit. But in the bar there would also be people in the bar who are like on your side. So it could like start a bar fight almost. Um and that might be sort of like a scene that kind of happens eventually. He doesn't want to rat out. Like it could be like a gambling house. Like it can be like a Western type thing. Whorehouse. Um, and then they don't really have a lead because this idea Avalon's huge. Um, but they might hear rumors eventually. So the first time the authorities check, you maybe could do it where they don't think too much of it, and it could be kind of like a semi-likable fat guy. That's funny how like somehow like tropes and shit can kind of play into that. Like we all know the semi-likable fat, semi-dumb guy, and he works for the bad guys, but isn't terrible. But see that like sort of helps sell the convenience almost like it would almost be like a plot hole. Sometimes convenience is like a plot hole. That's like the worst shit that I hate. So the convenience is why wouldn't they just arrest him on the spot when they know he's a knight or kill him on the spot? And it could just be like this guy, it's the guy like and that's a little more viable. Like you can kind of hopefully make it. But I don't know. The thing another way you can do it is like if it feels like good luck for the main character, that's like really bad. Almost like 99% of the time you don't want good luck for your main character. But one sort of exception to that is if the good luck ends up being bad luck down the road. So it's like a path of fate that just screws you even more. That's actually like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Even though at the end it does go back and have a happy ending, but it's almost like there's a sense of dread when he wins the golden ticket. And you know he's actually going into this like crazy situation then. Authorities eating donuts. See, straight up like something like that. I wouldn't mind having a little humor, definitely a little slice of life stuff if I can. A little bit. We were talking on the stream for a creative block about Shaggy Dog. I wouldn't mind a little bit of Shaggy Dog. I was thinking at some point it's like Percival, the Grail does disappear and Percival does give up. That normally he would go back to get it, go back to the Fisher King and get the Grail again and start the quest again. But this time he's like, nah. And it's like tantamount to almost like suicide or whatever. But I think what he would do is I don't know if shit would just kind of like continue. Like he might I was like he could there's a version of that story where he just like lives in Avalon and like joins the play and does a role in the play, starts to fall in love with the girl, like that stuff. But I do think he might be like, I'm gonna see Arthur even without the girl. I just want to see him, and so then that kind of becomes the new thing, and then the Grail would appear at kind of a crazy point that it can't feel plot convenient, but it can feel like kind of cool. And at that point too, he would have broken a lot of the vows of the Grail, and he would have kind of fallen in love with the girl. And then I think where it ends, because the story continues, like the story just, I'm kind of just going off the 1980s movie, but Percival gets the Grail to Arthur, and then Arthur feels better, raises an army and attacks Mordred, and then kind of everyone kills each other, more or less. Um, but I wouldn't. It would just end when he gets the Grail to Arthur, and I think he might die too. And then Arthur would talk to the girl, and he would kind of just explain to her at the end that he thinks that. Well, actually, I will. I won't say that yet. That don't want the super spoilers. The leper says something that makes Percival take him on the rest of the journey, and then you have the climactic turn of the leper being cured and betraying Percival. Yeah, I do something like that in a fast version of that in the first scene is the only problem. Percival's character is kind of fun to write. He's like super jaded, super broken, super pissed, and he's super black pilled. Um, because that's part of like for some reason what the Grail is forcing him, and it will stay with him when he's in that state. If he ever gets happy or hopeful, the Grail disappears. And it's not like he like even feels that or knows the rules necessarily. But that's why when he tells people that get healed by the Grail, he's like, "Good luck. It's not going to help you. You're still a bad person. It's actually probably going to make you worse. It's like giving power to a bad person. If you give make an ugly person and give them the power of being beautiful, they're still ugly on the inside." That's like what he's going to say. It's going to be badass. Of course, that will set him up to have a little bit of an arc, where like he does come around and not be quite so much a dick. But it's opportunity for some sort of like, I don't know if it's like philosophical or whatever, but some kind of the conversations can be like a little bit more interesting. Uh, so, and this is only like, if this were a script, maybe this would be up to like 40 pages. So this is like 1/3. And not the first act is even a little bit before this. So assuming this is not a terrible thing that I might need to fix because it's convenient. Let's see, we just keep going. What happens? The girl would get um this could be the hide in plain sight scene. Shit. And this is in like the inn or whatever. So then like it's funny, you almost don't want two scenes in the inn. That's like weird pacing. Like you would want to cut back to the bad guys and then cut to the girl. So check in with bad guys. I don't know what that scene is yet. Assuming it would be like they somehow get the lead to that he's in the inn. They hear the rumor that he's in the inn. I mean, maybe that's all it takes. There hopefully could be a little more clever. That's where I would allow some cleverness of how that exactly happens. But maybe they just overhear some shit. It could overlay with the authorities. Somehow they would hear. I don't know. But then like girl gets back. Gives antidote. And the whole time they're kind of like, Percival, you should just use the Grail to heal yourself. And he's like, no, because it'll disappear if we do. Um, does annoying rich simp follow? Does young gun follow? I think young gun might come with her. And he's in earnest, wanting to help, all excited. She likes him too for now. Some tension with Percival. It could be cool if the main bad guy does have somehow, like I was thinking there might be a character who's like in Inglorious Bastards, the Jew hunter character. It's like the really powerful, smart bad guy who's not he's not Mordred, but he works for Mordred. He's like Mordred's main general. Dun, dun, dun. And it is setting up a little bit for like a sort of little mini climax here is like the confrontation at the end where um and just the question being, is it the dumb authorities? That's still rubbing me just ever so slightly the wrong way. That could be a good scene though, like, you know, if he's like investigating, looking, he could even grab the cup. And he's heard the rumors too. Maybe. Another thing that's a little bit weird is if you have the girl, she's going to get the antidote. She goes to get the antidote, then she comes back and gives the antidote. You kind of don't want to do that either. You one of those you like don't want to show, or like something happens to interrupt it, because that's too much the audience knowing exactly what's going to happen. Like a female Tom Sawyer. Anne of Avalonia. I would check that out for a little research. Uh, Streaming a little over an hour. I might go just a little bit longer. It's funny. It's like sometimes I'll get like the rush if I feel like we were saying, what breaking the story or cracking the code, the crack. I need the crack. I don't really feel it yet. This is still so early. And sometimes you'll feel part of the crack is when you feel the narrative drive. So that's a little bit of the problem is, and some of this is like okay, but it's like a little bit of a problem. Our main character is like bedridden. So like what do you even do there? Um Student of God, what's up? Crack pack. Gives antidote. Oh, so does she give maybe before she can even give the antidote? Like seriously, like that would be like something that would happen. Before she can give the antidote, she gets arrested. Uh See, now we're talking. Mm. Uh the whole inn is surrounded by authorities. The main general bad guy has arrived, maybe. There's still some problems to figure work out here, but I kind of wanted the scene of them all talking. But that's kind of boring too, so I don't know. Some of this once like that kind of stuff answers come when you actually jump in to start writing it. But there's some okay stuff there. But I was thinking too, he at that point he kind of would really need to make the decision to drink. It's like maybe just I do have to drink the Holy Grail water, and it will heal me. The Grail will probably disappear, but at least I'll live to fight another day, and then we can at least deal with kind of this situation with the guards. Um, a little more, at least have some options or whatever. But then the Grail water or the Grail disappears too, and then he's like just so effed. Um, but there are other scenes I kind of wanted is like, well, yeah, a lot of it I can get early in there of like the rumors and people, the idea of like you can talk to someone in a bar, but it's 50-50. Um, so I do think we can do it this way. This is the local authority who is nice, literally, and I am gonna do that. It's kind of fun. And then the big, the bad authority has usurped and screwed them. Now the only kind of issue here is this gang of the lepers, what they're even doing, and it can almost be like too clever. I'm like, oh, they're there too, and they're sneaking in, and they help them because blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's like too clever. It would kind of just be cooler if Percival like gets arrested and taken. Um, and the another sort of issue I'm having is I had him get poisoned, and it was kind of like there's a ticking clock, but it's you're not quite sure of the timeline, and then it that can quickly get, is it convenient to buy more time, or would he die at this point? And that mess is actually kind of messing with stuff because it's not a super specific scene. Like if it was a scene like, shit, he's poisoned, go get the antidote. Oh, we made it in time. Cool. But this is like a longer thing. There's maybe some ways you can kind of do it and have it be like visual, but it's a little bit of a headache itself. I'm like, you could do it where he's paralyzed, where he took a frickin' axe to the back of his spine and he can't move his legs. Um, but I don't know about that either. But then there is like a fun tension there of the audience would then kind of some of the meta stuff, but the audience would know like at some point he's going to get healed and just be a fucking badass, but you're kind of waiting for it, and you can tease him like it keeps not happening. Danny McBride. Eric, an arrow to the knee. I almost said that. I deliberately didn't say it. Thanks for bringing it up. It brings back such poor memories. The time I took an arrow to my knee was paralyzed. Student of God. A new show like Kings. That could be cool. Yeah, intros are always good. I need that just for my own channel. Adam Lawson's cool, but I'll tell you something. He's busy AF. I just don't think, I don't know if he could swing it. People appreciate the protagonist more when they just struggle to earn it. Yeah. Well, actually, so they do a very similar thing in The Princess Bride. And it's funny. It is kind of awesome. But even that, it's like, I feel it when I was a kid. I always hated the part where he's paralyzed for like half the movie. And then I don't even know if he gets a sweet sword fight at the end. I think he does get like a badass moment where he hasn't even fully healed yet. And he stands and he goes, draw your sword. But the Twin Peaks Return did that too, where Dale Cooper is made like a retard for the whole show. And you just keep, you're like, when is he gonna be back, baby? And when he is back, you're like, he's back. But they waited too long for that, I think. It is like a little tease kind of thing you can do. So there is enough here that it's feeling okay. And it's funny, this is all, a lot of stuff, but it's not that complicated yet, which is good. I don't want it to be complicated. You have the Grail's like a MacGuffin, but it's like a MacGuffin with a mind of its own. That's kind of the part of the story that I like the most. That's like why I want to write this. It's because of that. Dougie Jones was the best. He was, but he got old, I thought. It's funny though, he is like endearing. You remember him, you're like, yeah, the good old days. Um okay. Annoying rich simp. So would he get it? He might. Oh, oops. He would get arrested too. He wouldn't get to have his kind of funny scene talking to Percival. But I was thinking this there could be a sort of what's it called? Like siege slash hostage situation. They tell Percival just drink the Grail. We kind of have to. That's if it's yeah, is it poison or paralyzed? I don't know. Because Percival might be like, no, fuck it. I'd rather die than loot than fail my quest. But I don't know if he might be like, fuck it, I will drink the Grail. But what I kind of want to have happen is he says I will drink the Grail, then they go to get the Grail and it's already gone. The Grail disappears. They are truly screwed. And they literally just get arrested. But even that, I'm thinking like, shit, you just zoom in one more notch, and there's like questions you got to answer. It is some of it, it's like convenience and plot hole ish stuff you're like trying to balance out. But like for that, like, why would the authorities even give pause? Like, why wouldn't they just barge in? There might be a reason why they have to give pause. And maybe it is like a hostage situation. Like that actually would be kind of cool. See, I'm still like, I don't have the crack yet. So assuming if I just even see like what would even happen at that point, that's a little uncharted territory for me. Like he actually gets arrested. You have you have the Leper King is out there. And there's people going to make their move. So what do they call that? Like they call it Deus Ex Machina. If it's like outside of the fate of the character, they get rescued. So you could do that. Like the revolution begins, and then it's on, and then from there they can make a few moves, but shit's crazy. But I think I kind of don't want that to happen until like literally the end of second act. And I wanted before that to have the downtime. Girl disappears. Not sure what to do. See, that's like funny if like I get if this is like dramatic irony, but if like the revolution happens, the army forms a big battle, they come to Percival, they're like, all right, we did it. We pulled the trigger. We're all gonna get killed pretty soon, but we need that Grail. And he's like, yeah, the thing about that is the Grail disappeared. There is no Grail. Like that's hilarious. And that'd be cool. And then they do have to deal with some shit. And then I think Percival would like he gets reunited at some point with I was gonna say Galahad, who I think Galahad might be his dad in the lore. But one other badass knight, maybe Lancelot. I mean, Lancelot's so classic. Maybe Lancelot. So, like, because Lancelot's out there and he's been laying low, so he does enter the story at some point, and that's a little bit like the God Machine. He could be the rescue card, and I kind of don't like doing that, but he could sort of do it. Um, Barney the dinosaur shows up, so they need Percival. Belmont Press. What's up, Belmont? Justin, how's it going? Grail FOMO. You can show poison spreading by having veins. Totally. And I might do that. That's kind of cool. And that it is cool to have like the ticking clock thing, but it's just a little weird. It's kind of a long, it's protracted, spread out to the point where audience is like, oh yeah, I forgot that that was a thing that they needed to do something before. He's like totally almost dead now. And then he has to be, yeah, like it's weird to have him, but it's okay if you pay it off. Awesome. I think I watched Northern Exposure instead of Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is pretty great. I tried to rewatch it and it's just some TV shows. I just like movies more than TV because TV takes forever. It's like so many hours. But I watched it once and it's amazing. Uh, Revolution is on. But that's like way a lot more has to happen. So we could do Percival arrested. I mean, honestly, Mordred would want to kind of talk to him. And so they might, and they have the antidote. They could hold it out, give it to him. You could have some things like the Grail could appear in his cell just out of his reach. Like it's really effing with him. And you kind of wonder if he's even going crazy at that point. Like that would be like pretty awesome. Uh like the Grail just literally giving itself to the bad guys just to fuck with Percival is kind of awesome. You kind of wonder, does it hate him or is it testing him to make him stronger? And he's like, no, it hates me. The girl would be like, no, it's just testing to make you stronger. No, it hates me. Well, maybe someone else could carry it. He's like, be my guest. Be my fucking guest. He's black pilled, baby. Shit. All right, maybe I'll do another session next week, but we at least made progress. And there's stuff. I'm actually thinking maybe he does just get arrested, brought to Mordred. Mordred kind of teases him with the antidote, and then the Grail does appear in his jail cell. And then I was like, and then maybe Lancelot breaks him out of jail. Um, but then the Grail disappears. The one I do have a little problem is I do have nothing to do for this Leper King guy. Dang it! If I could just think of one thing, like it would kind of be its own plot, but there's room for one more kind of cool B plot. But anyway, yeah, if say Lancelot rescues him, the revolution's ready, they need the Grail, but the Grail disappeared. So then they kind of there's like mass exile, mass retreat. Um and kind of lost complete all hope. But then Percival tells Lancelot he just wants to go see Arthur because Lancelot's the one person who knows where Arthur is. And Lancelot allows this. And then some other kind of tragic shit would happen. Make someone a traitor. Definitely there'd be something like that. Can we thinking about Sir Joe? GG. Is Mordred always evil? I watched some YouTubes about him. He was a knight of the round apparently. He's like, Arthur's half son or whatever. And but he gets a little jealous and eventually betrays. So the answer, I guess, is no. He's like a good guy when he's younger. He kind of has the Anakin Skywalker arc a little bit. Sir Joe instead of G.I. Joe. That's cool. Is that a thing? That would almost be like a pretty sweet idea. Sir Joe and the Joes of the Round Table. That's funny. Cool, 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 cool. All right. I'm going to end the stream, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Got a little bit of progress. Still much to do to figure out, but there's some stuff there. Catch you guys later.